Hello, all my bottoms up babes. This is your soul master, Carrie, taking the messiness in life, mixing it up, finding the message, and serving it to you straight. Because healing isn't linear, it's layered, and sometimes the breakdown is just the beginning of your breakthrough. Here, we honor the ache, speak the life into silence, and give the broken pieces a place to belong. This is the space where truth meets tenderness, where your story is sacred and your scars are seen. So breathe deep, open up, listen up, and let the healing begin. Hello, all my bottoms up babes. I hope you are doing wonderful. I have taken last week off because unfortunately my son, who is 11 years old, he is in junior high school and experienced 2 deaths in his high school. And it's been very tiresome and, just sad. And I wanted to be with him to understand grief, as this is actually the closest who have passed in his lifetime. I know that death is obviously something that we all face at one point or another, but 2 of these individuals were friends of his and in some camps with him and so forth, and 2 separate, very tragic situations that had affected even our community as a whole where we live here. So I needed to take some time off to assure that my child was just understanding and just being there for him and giving him unconditional love and so forth. With that being said, I wanted to take today's episode and meet with Nicky Clinch, who is one that I have taken a mastery class of hers with healing the inner child within us. She is the host of the Infinite Potential of Human Beings, and her podcast is always so amazing because she's filled with such spirituality and such love and care, and she really is a beautiful soul inside and out. And so I wanted to share with you her episode that she had provided regarding she had gone to Peru and did some medication there that's called the Tree of Light. And what you do is you take this medication and then you are there for I think it's 10 days. She had stated that you sit with just the frequency of your life, whether you are experienced of hate or terror or shame or guilt, abuse, such whatever it is that you've gone through. And you take this medication and you face a lot of the things that you have experienced in your lifetime. And knowing once you face these things, the frequency of them really do make the environment of our lives, and things that we absorb, and they become our consciousness and we don't even know. It's like a blind spot to our life. It's our attention that we think is just so normal, being creatures of habit, but really it's seeing the world as a comfort zone. And you don't see the world as it is, you see it as you are, because silence can feel like rejection to one person, but peace to another. And I feel like hearing her story of her experience in Peru will really maybe open up the light, and just overall how healing is so important in our journeys and facing things that we've gone through, because if we don't, it will build the reality to our world. So let me turn it over to Nicky and we'll touch base after.
Wow. It was a humbling and profound experience. And if I'm very honest, I'm still integrating from it. But I think what I want to begin by saying is the power of Tree of Light, the power of this medicine, is its frequency. It is quite literally the frequency of the purest light. When the medicine kicks in, the only way I can describe it is you become in the presence of such a pure frequency of light that it's like sitting with God, but extremely, extremely powerful. it's like the deepest love a mother could give, and sometimes brutal love. And the intention of the medicine, in my view, is to fill me with so much of this pure light, so that who I'm being and the resonance and the frequency that I am emanating and that I am embodying is in alignment and a match to the tree of light frequency. Now, it sounds all love and rainbows, but it absolutely is not that. Because in order to fill me with more and more light, and sometimes it felt physically painful, quite literally, like my cells were being stretched open and more and more and more in order to fill more light. It was like my entire grip and identification of the limitations of my physical matter had to be completely dissolved in order to let in more space, more light. And so it was physically painful. The amount of letting go was extreme. But of course, in order to fill me with more light, anything that is of a lower density and a lower frequency that is in my cellular structure and in my entire cellular structure has to be brought up and purged out. And that is, of course, the deep, deep work. And I think what I want to begin by saying is, what is so profound about working with this medicine that it has taught me about human beings is how much we store in the cellular structure of the matter of our bodies. And of course, the identification of our ourselves in the mind. And we store everything that we have experienced and we have absorbed through our parents and through our environment, through our generations, even our karmic history. We literally store like an entire efficient, energetic frequency memory bank. Memories, stories, but energetic frequencies of those stories, the energy of people that we've been around, the energy of our parents, the energy of our ancestors. We absorb it all and we carry it in our body and the cellular structure of the matter that we are. Because of course we're energy expressed as matter. And so we don't walk around every day living as if we're energy expressed in the form of matter. We just walk around every day thinking that's who we are. This is who we are. We can certainly talk about the fact that we're an energy manifested as matter, but when you really live it and you really become present experientially, that all of this stuff that is being you is energetic resonance. And of course, the blind spot is what is the frequency of that resonance? What are we carrying? We don't realize how much we've absorbed. You know, what are we carrying that we've absorbed? The hate that we experienced in the face of our mother, or the terror that we experienced and absorbed in the presence of our father, the shame, the guilt, the anger that we absorbed from our environment, from our cultural heritage, from the world. We literally absorb everything and we carry it like it is just normal. And until it's brought to our attention and consciousness, it's not just as information, but energetically and on a resonance level, we don't know. And we don't know that we don't know it. It is just a blind spot. And of course, what we carry in who we're being, the resonance and the frequency of who we're being, is what gives us the shaping and the unfolding and the manifestation of our world, our 3D world, our 3D reality, which is kind of scary, isn't it? And I know that when you're hearing this, it's hard to let it in, because you can't turn around fast enough to look at what you're carrying when you're the one carrying it, and it's just you being you. But the way the world appears to us and the way we experience the world is given by the resonance and the frequency from who we're being, and who we're being is given by the resonance and the frequency of what we carry. And it's scary and a confronting realization, because when you look at our world today, one of the biggest blind spots of human beings, ontological blind spots, is that the external world out there is separate and independent from our internal world. We live every day as if we get up and the external world out there is separate and independent from our internal experience. And we just have to somehow work out how to live in it. And it is a blind spot. It is scientifically inaccurate. Quantum physicists and theorists today, and scientists today, are discovering that this is fact. That there is no external world out there separate and independent from the perception of the observer. The only world that appears is given by the perception of the observer. So the external is not independent and separate from who we're being. So when you look at the world today, it's not only terrifying, it's extremely confronting. The amount of anger, the amount of hate, the amount of judgment, the amount of blame, control, manipulation, survival, it's almost too unbearable to let in when you look at what's happening on a collective level. But then let's take it more into our personal and individual lives. And who are we being with our partners? Who are we being with our mother? Who are we being with our children? Who are we being with ourselves? And so it's a blind spot that somehow the way the world is unfolding is separate and independent from who we're being. And of course, who we're being, again, is a blind spot. We carry our history, our entire energetic and resonance and frequency history in the cellular structure of our body, of the matter of our body. And so the point of what I'm saying is that in order for the medicine to fill me with more light, boy, did it have to confront me with even more layers of frequency and resonance that I not only have carried, but I have identified with, that were of lower frequency: loneliness, shame, deep hate and anger, terror. It was just so confronting. And you have to just surrender and experience it and then release it and purge it. And so in one of my ceremonies, which was a hard one, I became so present to this extraordinary loneliness that has sat at the root, right at the root. Like if you imagine a plant that goes right down deep in the earth and then you get to the tip of the root, that's how deep it felt. Like it had been a deep, empty loneliness that had been there at the root of me since I was a tiny little baby, being born into a world with a mother that was depressed, and in a lot of pain. My father had just left her. She was a single mother now of 3. Being born into a world where there was just pain. My father had left. My siblings were heartbroken. And the depth of the loneliness that I experienced, and then that began to shape my survival mechanism and my identity. Wow. In this ceremony, the medicine literally took me there, and then held me there. I could not get away from it. And I was so present to being trapped in this loneliness inside this physical body, this dense. I was so present to the density and the heaviness and the thickness of this meat suit that we have called a body, and I couldn't get out of it. And of course, all I could do was surrender and be with the depth of the pain of this loneliness whilst being trapped, which is, of course, exactly how I felt as a little girl. I felt trapped in a childhood I couldn't get out of. I felt trapped in the pain and the emotions and the experiences that I was feeling so young. And then, of course, it makes perfect sense that then led me to patterns of behavior of doing whatever I can to escape drugs, alcohol, sex, money, ambition, anything to get me out from being with the depth of this pain. And of course, the healing part of this ceremony, which took every bit of surrender I had, was to surrender and not fight and not try and leave it, but just feel it and feel it and feel it and see how much my personality had been shaped on top of this. And yeah, then I went into ceremony 3, and it was like a full initiation, like hardcore, being confronted with every moment of greed that I had experienced or felt in my life, more, arrogance, betrayal of my own self. Oh, so painful. It felt like an endless confronting of everything that I had been carrying and absorbed and identified with that were of very, very low frequencies. And I just kept surrendering. I just kept saying, thank you. I surrender. Thank you. I'll face this. Thank you. And I could feel the amount of trust that it took for me to surrender that deeply. And I know it sounds strange. It just felt like love. It felt like so much love to choose to not run away, to choose to heal at that depth, to choose to let in that bigger shift. When I came out of those 2 ceremonies, I felt completely reborn. And then as I moved into the 4th ceremony, it made sense to me why I had had such a fundamental clearing. Because as I started to move through the 4th ceremony, and I had a lot of forgiveness of myself that had to happen because of all the years that I had betrayed myself in my marriage, my first marriage that's now over. And I had to forgive my own self for thinking so little of myself to have put up with patterns of behavior that had hurt me. And as I got to the point of forgiving my own self and my heart, the most beautiful thing happened. My throat opened, my mouth opened, and then this extraordinary sound started coming out, this song. This frequency started coming out of me that was pure light through my voice. And I don't know whether you know this, but I used to be a singer. In fact, when I was a little girl, all I ever wanted was to be a singer. And up until the age of 30, my profession was a singer. But I gave it up because I hated the industry, and I used to suffer from major panic attacks on stage, and I couldn't let my voice out. And so it was so extraordinary that after all this clearing in the ceremony 4, my voice came back. But this time, it didn't even sound anything like I had recognized in me. It was so pure and so love. It was just pure love. And it was healing for me to allow myself to sing again. And it just I heard very clearly the medicine saying, this is your mastery, this is your gift, to use sound and allow healing to happen for people. And so it felt very full circle for me to return back to my voice after all these years. And so, yeah, I mean, it really was the most life-changing experience that I have ever had.
Wow, just how beautiful of all of the things that Nicky had shared today. And it just shows it's important that we continue to heal our wounds and begin to align with a higher frequency, one that calls us to see the world not through the lens of our pain, but through the light of our growth. The truth is, we don't see the world as it is. We see it of who we are. And every experience, every wound, every lesson has shaped the way we perceive and respond to life. But healing invites us to shift that, to move from the subconscious mind of our past, where old pain and others' opinions still echo, into the conscious awareness of the present moment. This is where true freedom begins, when we choose to live from the energy of today and not the limitations of yesterday or the past. So as you move forward, remember, your healing isn't just about letting go of what hurt you. It's about raising your vibration, expanding your awareness, and allowing yourself to become the version of you that finally feels at peace. That is what peace and love truly is. Until next time, stay grounded, stay conscious, and keep rising higher. You deserve it.